As we get closer to the national championship, let's go ahead and rank all 10 national championships that we have seen in the college football playoff era. At number 10, I think this is fairly obvious. Georgia absolutely pounded TCU in 2022, and it was ultra disappointing for me because it was the first year I was making college football content. But I was not one of those people that was saying that TCU should not have been included in the playoff at all because they beat Michigan to get here. So TCU deserved to be here, but it is number 10. At number 9, I have Alabama versus Ohio State in the COVID season when Alabama went on to absolutely destroy Ohio State. This game was actually close up until about half, but it is number 9. At number 8, we have Dabo Swinney's second college football playoff championship trophy in the era. Clemson went on to beat Alabama in a pretty convincing fashion. This game was close up until the mid-second quarter, but everybody was tuned out in the second half. The first ever college football playoff championship comes in at number 7 between Ohio State and Oregon. This game was actually a pretty decent game up until about the fourth quarter, but considering it was the first year of the playoff, it was a little disappointing that this was not a closer game in retrospect. At number 6, I have the national championship of the 2019 season when we saw undefeated Clemson with Trevor Lawrence against undefeated LSU with Joe Burrow. It was a great game in the making, but ultimately LSU absolutely pounded Clemson after the second quarter, and Joe Burrow and LSU went on to have a historic season. At number 5, I have the national championship from last year with Washington and their amazing passing game attack with an NFL quarterback and 3 NFL receivers against this vintage Michigan team that just prided itself on running the ball and playing good defense. It was a great matchup of very different styles, but ultimately Michigan took care of Washington. At number 4, I have the national championship of the 2021 season with Georgia beating Alabama to secure its first national championship in over 40 years. This game was a lot closer than what the box score appears a few years later, but ultimately, this was a great game between these two SEC teams. But my top 3 national championships, I think, are clearly the best national championships of the college football playoff era, and it's just so insane that this happened in a 3-year span. Starting with number 3, 2015, Alabama against Clemson. This game was such a back and forth, insane game. Do you guys remember that onside surprise kick from Nick Saban to beat Clemson in the fourth quarter? Oh my goodness, there were just so many points scored in that fourth quarter. It was insane to keep up with. At number 2, I have the national championship of the 2016 season. I think this was arguably the best storyline out of any national championship that we saw. This was prime Alabama in their bad guy days when it seemed like Nick Saban and Alabama kept getting to the national championship and everybody was rooting for Clemson and Dabo Swinney and Deshaun Watson to pull out the victory against Alabama, and it happened just in the final seconds on one of the greatest goal line plays in national championship history, and Clemson secured its first national championship under Dabo. But at number 1, it's hard to argue for any national championship besides 2017 between Alabama and Georgia when Tua Tagovailoa hit Devonta Smith in overtime on 2nd and 26 to end the game and to secure another Nick Saban national championship against this Georgia Bulldogs team with Kirby Smart. This was just a magnificent game, and honestly, it's a rightful number 1. I cannot wait to see how Notre Dame versus Ohio State fits in the list of the college football playoff national championships that we've seen, so let me know your guys' predictions for where this game will land and what you think of my top 10 list.